building. What's up, y'all? It's your boy K Mo. As we always started off, you gotta comb that hair out. I know a lot of these nappy cuts and stuff y'all be seeing, y'all think that you ain't gotta comb your hair. Still here to tell you it's a very important part of a haircut. Now, what I'm getting ready to get into with my haircuts, I like to, on these type of haircuts, I want to get the shape going with the hair. So I pulled out my clippers to start doing that. The clippers that I have are some Kimmy's. They're some off-brand clippers, I guess you would say, but to me they cut very well. What they do the best to me is rake, but they cut a lot like Babyliss. So the blade is a lot thicker, so it cuts a little different. Kind of almost has a fast feed vibe, but they're not. The blade isn't long enough, so they're not that good, but they're decent. They're pretty good clippers, especially for the price. What I'm doing right here is getting into kind of the line prep work. As you can see, my client is having a hard day after school, and he fell asleep on me a few times. But I try to ignore that and keep it going. There's a few times where it gets to me, but it's all good. It's challenging to cut while you're videoing and then someone falling asleep, but you always got to find your way through things. I'm starting off with a 3.5 because, like I say, I've already kind of started to get the shape where I just went around it and then I put the ball line in. So within doing those steps right there, now I'm getting into the part where it's very important for me to get the hair to start to blend, especially at the top area. So you start low and you start to see where it blends and you flick out. You can use the heel a lot on this, and that'll help you out a lot, because a lot of times, when you put the heel and you use the heel, you don't add lines to it, so it's like you're smudging at it, and the more you smudge at it, the more the blade comes in and gets the hair to be where it needs to be at. But you gotta flick out in time, so it's very important for you to know where you want the lengths of hair to be at in the haircut and kind of figure that out as you go. Really kind of have an idea and game plan beforehand, but as you go, you start to see where the hair is best at. One of my sayings is always that hair looks better when it's cut, so it's very important for you to cut each hair. And I'm a down fader, so now I'm going down the hill. I'm probably with 2 3/4 right here. So what we're doing is getting the hair, like, once again, I found my spots. I'm finding my spaces, how I want the darkness to be. That's the thing about down fading. That's such a beautiful thing, is that you really kind of get to pick how you want your fade to look. Where is the darkness end at? Where does the fade really start to show off at? Those type of things. Those are the things that really get me to bring out the best haircut I can. Now I'm down to probably a 1.5. With this 1.5, what I'm trying to do at this point is, when I get up high like that, I'm really just using it to kind of like a clipper over a comb without the comb type of deal. Just not really, just doing a lot of hovering. Some people don't, if you aren't an experienced barber, you don't realize the power of the hover, and not always switching guards, but switching how hard you press and things. That it plays a part. And so once you learn it, and once you learn how to use your pressure as a point in making your fades come out more detailed, you can just add a lot of detail to your work. You see that little spot right there in the front? That's where I'm going to put the line at. So that is actually intentional. It may not look intentional right now, but you'll see we'll sharpen up his line and really put that part in there, and you'll see why that's there. It makes the part stand out very well. So that's something that is very important when you're doing this style of haircut. You don't want a part that's not detailed or has too much bulk around it, so that every time that the client goes to comb their hair or wash their hair, anything like that, it's like they need a new haircut again. So those type of things make a huge difference, especially like when we were going through and prepping the line for the detailed lineup. So right now what you see is I'm putting the line in. It's not a take back. What happened is he has like a little ugly spot right there, and because we're putting that part in there, I want to make that as sharp as possible. You see the stuff he's doing. He doesn't realize he's irritating me, but you shouldn't let it get to you. People have rough days and things like that where they have stuff going on, so try to be mindful of that. He's young, so he's tired. All right, putting in that line. When you want to put in that line, you want to make sure you look at a couple of things. You want to look at the side angle, and you also want to look straight on. And you want to try to make sure that when you put the part in and you look at the angle straight on, it doesn't look funny. And when you go to put the part in, you don't want to look on the side and it look funny. So you just kind of want to, view those and make sure that you're getting the right angle that you want to achieve the best haircut. And you can kind of see it for yourself. There's no secret formula that I know of for how exactly the part is supposed to. Is it 45 degrees or what? The main thing is that you get in a clear spot where when you put the line in, that it doesn't look, faint or anything like that. Now, what I actually did with this fade is I went all the way down to, I believe, the 16th or the 1, and then I came back up with the blade. And so what I basically was doing is I came through with the closed halfway and then open, went through that whole 3 stages. And if you just do that with a good set of fast feeds or masters that are really set well, you should blend right all the way through. But you have to make sure that your blades are set well. They're not zero gap, but they're almost zero gap, and in a lot of cases kind of zero gap. I mean, when I say zero gap, I use that loosely. You don't want the cutting blade over the other blade, but you want it pretty close to even, but not even. So when you do that, then you can go through and blend up through your guides. So as you can see, I used that 16th a moment ago, and I'm really getting the blend to come all the way through. And as you can see, doing this fade technique where you down fade and then come back up, you have the ability to kind of control where the fade sits at. And that's, to me, that's a major part in developing your style and really like creating haircuts that people say stand out, or that they know, oh, that's a K-Mo cut. You want that type of image as far as your haircutting skills, and one of the ways that you develop that is doing that. So keep that in mind. So once again, we're doing the same thing. We're attacking that line right now. I think I made it all the way up to open, coming all the way through. Notice how I don't go to the hairline potentially. I go to it, but because we put that little line in first, it helps you to understand that part needs to be dark. Now, is it needs to be as dark as it is now? No, I'm coming through with the 16th to kind of smooth that out, and I'll make sure that it doesn't look choppy like that. But what I'm saying is once you cut that hair off where the line is supposed to be at, that's when y'all got to put all the paint and stuff in there to make it look right. So you want to make sure that you're cognizant of where that line is at. And one way to do that, put the line in first. It helps you to preserve the line, and actually what it will do is speed up your fades in a lot of ways, because you can see the imperfections faster when the lineup is already in there. As you can see, the fade is starting to come together. We're going to have to touch up this back to make it connect. But as you can see, it connects. Now, is it as smooth as possible? No, that's, once again, when you're fading, it is a process, which means that you're going to come back to points and evaluate and make the best choice at that point. But a lot of times people get caught up in what they're doing at the time so much that they don't go back and look over things. And when you cut in a fade, you're going to have some eye fatigue. That's why it's important to do things in steps and in a system, because when you do it in a system, you'll find ways to add to your system in ways that'll help you to make views at points that are very crucial. Because if you don't step back and you don't, use your chair, use your mirrors and all of that at points throughout your haircut, you're going to have some mistakes in there. So it's very important for you to have a system that helps you to be able to go back and double check things. Nothing will ever be perfect. Now, what we doing, cut hair always looks better, so we're coming through with those shears. A lot of times when you get them little rollies like that in the back, you know what I'm saying, them little rolly hairs you see, you just come through with them shears and just touch them, man. Just touch them, and you'll start to see the hair fall away, and it'll stop looking, kind of ununiform. It'll look more cut. You see, that's all I'm trying to do, is just get those little rolly hairs and little hairs that are rolling up that I couldn't get to. I'm just trying to get them and touch them, with the thinning shears. The thinning shears do that. They thin little bulky areas. So if you get those right and you learn how to use those within your fade and not just always rely on your clippers, once again, increasing speed. So those are little key things that, sound like, Kmo, you kind of tripping, it's overboard. But if you don't have shear game, honestly, your speed can't be on a certain level. Right now we balling out, and understand why I leave that little line at the bottom. That line at the bottom is to help you with the balding out fade part. So that way, like, as you go, like, say, it's kind of like putting your finger on the page when you're reading. You can't lose your spot. Well, when you get to fading, sometimes if you don't have that underneath the bottom sometimes, and you're not used to that, then you lose kind of track of where you at in the fade. But that dark hair will help you to see that, yeah, I got to stay right here on this side like I did on that side. It'll help you to see that a little bit more clear. I don't know if I'm explaining that to every ear, but if you really listen to what I'm saying, that line, that darkness will help you to be able to stay in the fade better. You will really know where your fade is at, because I use key points. Like when I do my lineups, I use the eyebrows for the lineups and stuff like that. So there's key points on the ears is another thing that you can use. But those key points help you to really place things, and when you leave hair at the bottom, it'll help you to place your fade as you're going up, not have one side higher than the other and things like that. Your eyes remember those type of things, even if you don't really realize you see it, but you'll see it. So just a quick tip to improve your fade. Right now what we're doing is going through and touching things up. In this portion, I do a couple of things. When I lean the clipper and I'm touching the actual teeth to the hair, the tip of the teeth, that's me trying to do more of an 1/8 of an inch. I should say a 1, but it's a little less than a 1. When you see me leaning back real far and healing, that's me trying to use the clipper to glide over certain things and to touch things up without digging in. And so that means that I can use my finger as a guard. You'll see me tuck my finger underneath there and my index finger and use it as a guard, or you'll see me just plain old flat out just gliding and hovering over spots until the little hairs get out the way. Adding a shaper to your haircut really adds another dimension. It helps it to stand out more. The bald is like the part that really, once you get your bald down and it's bald, then man, I'm telling you, your fades come out crispy as long as you don't got no lines in it. And as you can see, we didn't leave any lines. So once we start to style his hair and everything, his hair is really gonna stand out because there's no lines, So right now we're getting into the point where we pull out the blade. It's very important to stretch the skin and things like that when you're doing it. They say that the 30-45 degree, I'm here to tell you, you can even almost do a 90-degree angle if you know how to bring it to the line just right. My main thing is stretch the skin and make sure that you don't feel any irritation as you're moving, like you don't feel it dragging nasty or anything like that. And that takes time. So starting out, don't try any of the extra angles. Just do 30 degrees, almost lay the blade to the head and then pull it back, meaning the back of the head, just kind of lay it almost flat, and then get used to that on the balloon, and then start to bring your angle up a little bit higher into the 30s and up, and you'll get pretty good at it. And once you figure that part out and you get pretty good, you'll start to see that there are ways to get sharper lines out of what you have. Once again, like I say, we always do the rough draft, so here I am again, like finishing it up, making sure that it's nice and straight. A lot of times when you're going through the fade process, you don't realize, but it kind of changes a lot of the shapes. I got some curved shears out. That's going to help me to really put the shape in there. I'm not really trying to have a box. I want it to be tall, but I don't want it to be boxy per se, because I feel like the new style is more rounded. So I did that for his particular hairstyle. Right now we're adding in some suavecito. Matter of fact, we're adding in the Viking. The Viking helps to have it like a curl. I like the soluble pomades because they wash out their hair pretty easy and they leave like a curl, not a nappy look. Murray's will probably do the same thing. But here's the finished product. As you can see, we got busy. It's a beautiful cut, beautiful person that we dealing with, great guy. Young man needs to get more rest, but did a great job. Have a blessed day. You only fresh as your last cut.